Namaste. Today's class isn't the most exciting or the most glamorous, but I think by the time we finish, you'll feel like it's well worth your while. It's all about ankle mobility and healthy feet. So the only thing you'll need is a little bit of space to work on the floor and a little bit of wall space. So I hope you enjoy and I hope you get a lot out of it. Let's get started. Exciting. I got a lot of dogs barking today. It's okay. It's okay. All these dogs are barking in the house, huh? So the first thing that we're going to want to do if we're going to work with ankle mobility in the feet is warm them up. So I suggest standing near a wall in case you need it for balance. We will be using it at some point anyway, but some simple calf raises. So now as you're coming up, make sure that you don't sickle the foot. So making sure that the weight is more on the inside of the foot versus the outside of the foot as you lift. And we'll just do a couple, just a quick little warm up. 5, 4, 3, 2, lift and release. I want you to take a little bit of a Pilates stance here so that the heels are together and the toes are out. Same premise. Really think of pushing through that crease of the ankle. So right where that shin and the foot meet, push through there. If you haven't done these in a while, you really feel it, I think. 5, 4, 3, 2, press up and release. Come back to parallel and then ever so slightly heels out, toes in. It's subtle, but you want to get into the outside of the calf as well. So today's class isn't the most glamorous, but I think by the time we finish, you'll notice it's definitely a necessary thing. 5, 4, 3, 2, lift and release. You can just give those legs a quick little shake. We are going to use the wall for a stretch. So, hands are about shoulder height. Step one leg back into what looks like a little bit of a lunge position. And find the depth so that your heel is on the floor and you're beginning to feel a stretch in your calf. From here, find the sink through the front knee, but now I want you to engage the muscles of your leg. So really push through the glutes, the quad, all the way down to the heel. And micro movements here, so you could sway a bit. You're actively pushing into the wall with your hands. And you could also try stepping this front foot a little closer in. So I'm going to cross through center as I continue to extend through that back heel. Keep that same gentle sway. If it feels like it's effective, just tapping into different areas within the calf. And you can try stepping a little further out with this front foot as you sink in. All these angles are important. Stepping back, have those toes meet and switch sides. So once you settle in, see if you can go a little bit deeper and then engage the leg, right? Engage the muscles of the leg to feel more. Little sway. Try stepping that front foot through center as you sink back in. Chest is lifted. Just notice if one side is tighter than the other. Go ahead and release. Feet are parallel. Bring your hands down to your knees. And try to make a big, slow churn. So just being able to move your ankles in all different directions. It's actually really good for the knees too. Reverse the direction. all the way back up. Be gentle with this one. So I want you to take the top of the foot, use the wall if you need balance, top of the foot to the floor, gently press through the inside big toe side of the foot as you press the hips forward. So just feeling that stretch beginning to work its way into the front portion of the foot. Here's another place where we watch out for that sickle, right? So the weight is on the inside versus the outside. Second side, back. Just think of lifting the heart as you push. Nice breath in. Exhale, see if you can just give a little more extension through. And release. Okay, so hopefully you're feeling like we're getting a little bit of work done down there. We're gonna take it down to the mat. So, finding your way onto your back. Maybe support your head if you want with a block. Hello, this is Lacey if you haven't met her. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna continue to work, only this time it's through deep tissue. So if you don't have a foam roller, we improvise. I want you to take the calf of one leg and begin to shear it on the knee of the other leg. And focus on the outer part of the calf as well as the meatier part of the calves. And if you could find some sensitive spots to pause and roll the ankle. Usually you can find some sticking points here. Sometimes I'm just too lazy to get my foam roller out, and this is just as good. And it's free, right? We don't have to find any props, we've got them with us. So switching sides. And if you do have chronic tightness here, if you run or if you hike, you can just do this in bed, right? Right before bed. I find it quite relaxing. Roll the ankle. And release. Just notice how that feels. Knees come in, find your way up. So as we work our way into the next pose, if this is not feeling right in your body, you'll have an alternate to pick from. I do find it quite intense in terms of hip flexion and ankle. So making sure that you don't disturb the dog, most important. I'm gonna take a hurdler stretch on one side and allow my body weight to track, right? Knee over toe, and my weight is right in the middle of it. So finding the perfect point where you can sink through that heel and allow the calf to stretch all the way down. You'll feel it into where the Achilles tendon is. And then just note what this would look like if you were doing it from a chair. So taking a look at that and playing with different angles. Sometimes just letting your body weight sink and breathe into this. See if you could hinge ever so slightly forward and back. Hinging through center, maybe just transition through your cross-legged position as we shift to our second side. Lacey always makes things interesting. You gotta move around her. She could sleep at like the drop of a hat. Okay, so hurdler stretch on one side. I frame the foot as I soften in. So my weight is behind me. I know in training, it's always never let the ankle, the knee protrude beyond the ankle, but when your weight is behind you, I feel very safe in this pose, but definitely receiving the stretch in my calf. So I want you to move around. Again, noting the position on the chair and making this accessible for everybody. And I'm noticing that the two sides are very different. I don't know why. But could be anything, could be injury. I tend to do a lot of walking outside, and I notice, the street has got that little tilt to it, and something as simple as that could throw you out of balance. So just honor whatever comes up in these stretches. Give it one more breath while you're here. And all parties transition to downward dog, however you need to get there. Maybe kicking into table, tucking the toes up and back, lifting through the hips. Hopefully feeling a little more length in this back side. Option to bend the knees if that is necessary for your hamstrings. We didn't really work hamstrings today. We're really focusing on ankle mobility and lengthening through the calf. Bend one knee and sink through the opposite heel. Switching, lift the heels and replace. Sink through the heel as you engage the muscles of the legs. Think of pushing through the kneecap. One more breath. And release. Option to come down into child's pose just to recover. Stacking the fists or letting the arms wrap around the body. Reaching the hands forward, tuck the toes, and just pull those knees underneath you, keeping the toes tucked, and see if you could sit on your heels. Now, if you can't sit on your heels comfortably, bring your body weight forward. If you can sit on your heels, we're gonna travel into the base of that foot. So letting your body weight sink wherever you are. And then to deepen, I want you to think of almost digging sand with your toes like this. You're just gonna press into the floor. And then I want you to soften everything. Little sways from side to side. Make sure you can get all through the base of the foot. And you could be leaning forward. This does get easier. I actually kind of like this. I could stay here a while, but probably not when I first tried it. Dig into sand with your toes and then relax. Untuck the toes, and for some people, make sure that your feet aren't sickled. So I have you can even look behind you. Make sure that your heels aren't pulling out and your toes are touching in. You should almost feel as if you have one nice kinetic chain through that foot. Some people may need to sit on a block, right, to get into this position here where we're beginning to stretch the bottom of the foot. If you know that that is okay in your body, we're gonna take a seat right on the heels. And here's another time where you can lean forward, or if you can, sit on those heels. And this is another one where probably the first time I did it, it was probably not this comfortable. And now I actually quite like it. We'll show an option to layer on for those of you who have done this before and you're feeling good. Before we move on, again, making sure, I'll say it 100 times, the sickling of the foot is very common. I can kind of settle in and my heels are wide. Bring those heels together. If you feel like you want to go deeper, place your hands on the floor and lift your way up. Breathe in. I feel like this is a little bit of core work too. Another breath. Release and soften. For anybody who needs to take a quick little breather, do so. Otherwise, we're going to go up one more time. Hands to the floor and lift your way up. Release. Drop those hips to one side and swing your legs around, not disturbing the dog. So now's the fun part of class, or at least in my opinion it is. Sit comfortably. If you don't want to be on the floor, you could be doing this whole sequence on a chair. So finding one foot, whatever position you need to be in to find that foot. And I just want you to relax the foot and churn it in a circle. I think of almost like when you have a massage and you just let the therapist kind of take you. Let your foot soften so that the hand is doing all the work in this churning. Reverse the direction. And then you'll use your knuckles for this. So flexing your foot and use the tops of your knuckles here to just get right into that arch. I say flex so that you can really begin to feel the tendon in here that's responsible for your arch. And then also try up and down, back and forth, both ways. Your feet are going to feel so good after this. Using your thumbs, I'm going to use one thumb on each hand, and I'm just going to knead through that whole arch. And also you're going to do something called a flossing. So as if I were to kind of shift through the top of the foot here, so right where the toes meet the foot, that's called your tarsals, I'm just going to kind of move back and forth. I'm also doing a mini celebration because I'm filming my first video on a new camera. So I still don't know what I'm doing. I recorded an entire thing yesterday and the audio didn't work. So technically this is my second, and I have to trash all of yesterday's work. Taking your fingers and try to weave through your toes. You can do another one of those circular churns if it's tolerable. If it's the first time you're doing this, might be a little challenging or a little painful, but that probably means you need to do it if it's painful. Option to spread the fingers. Feel how good your foot feels already. Slide your hand down to the top of the foot and pull it towards you. Here's another time that we want to question for the sickle. Think of keeping this line straight. And once you draw the toes towards you, push the top of the ankle away from you. Option to deepen by using your thumb in the inner arch to curl around the thumb. And this part of the body really doesn't get much attention unless something goes wrong, and then it gets all of your attention. One more breath. And release. Last and final on this side. I want you to bend that knee so that you can use your opposite hand. Find the bone of your shin. I could kind of run up and down that shin. I'm going to go right on the outside of it with my fingertips, and I'm going to do a little dig. Probably an inch or two below the knee, and I'm just going to look for areas of sensitivity in that shin, and it's there, trust me. There's a lot of meridian points here. If you could find a spot where you're feeling sensitivity, I'm going to suggest fingers pressing in, cup on top, and then lean into it. I continue to move my fingers a little bit while we're here. And then release. All right, let's get ready for that second side. So get comfortable and circular churn. Just let the foot relax. Both directions. And activate, you want to flex the foot, right? You're going to use your knuckle and up and down, back and forth, the whole bottom of the foot. Right, so I don't get pedicures. I mean, maybe once every 2 or 3 years I get pedicures. But do it yourself, right? Get up close and personal with your feet. They're so important, right? This is your foundation for all of your movement, and yet they're so neglected. Taking both thumbs and begin to massage your way in. I think my lack of pedicures are, now that I've spent so much time working on taking care of myself and trying to detoxify, and I walk in there and all those harsh smells, and knowing that there's all these chemicals in the polish, I tend to not. But I certainly wouldn't mind the massage, so here we are. Do your flossing, right? I'm going to floss over the top of the foot here. So I'm almost feeling the feet kind of move back and forth right on those tarsals. Your tarsals are in your feet, your carpals are in your fingers. So I always think tarsals, toes, T, and now you'll never forget. Right, your carpals, and then T for toes, tarsals. Take your fingers and go right through. Again, if that's a bit much, just work on it, it'll get better. Circular churn. Both ways. Also, coming into the toes from the top down is a little bit more sensational. So if you're not feeling the stretch, you can go from the top in versus the bottom up. Try to spread your fingers between your toes. And release. Sliding down the leg to the toes and pull towards you, right? So beginning to feel that stretch in the top of the calf here, top of the shin. Thumb can come in and curl. So I'm pressing that thumb in as I imagine pressing the ankle away. Feels good in a not so good way, right? Release and bend that same knee. I want you to use the opposite hand for this, so finding that shin bone and then come right to the outside of it and do little squeezes down. So I am somewhere just on the outside, maybe an inch or two underneath the knee, and find some stickiness, find some tender spots. Pressing through the fingers and lean into this. If you can tolerate it, it's quite deep. All right. Go ahead and cross those legs or sit comfortably wherever you are. Notice how you feel. Not the most exciting class, but I want you to acknowledge the fact that your feet are your base, right? Without what's underneath us and without the integrity of that arch, we don't have the shock absorption in our joints. And the work that we do here is important. So, thanks for sticking with me. Namaste. I hope your feet are feeling good. If this was beneficial, please consider subscribing to be part of our family, where we focus on yoga on and off the mat. Namaste.